Long before modern roads crossed the mountains of Romania, before electricity reached isolated villages, before maps made people believe every place could be explained, there was a warning passed quietly from one generation to the next. Not written, not recorded, only spoken, and always in a lower voice, because according to the old stories, there was a castle hidden somewhere in the cold lands of Transylvania, a place people avoided, not because of war, not because of wild animals, but because something inside that castle was said to still be waiting. They called him Dracula, not the monster from the movies, not the creature from novels, but something older, something darker, a nobleman who had once ruled with fear, and who, according to legend, refused to leave this world. The villagers believed he never truly died. They said his body disappeared, and that every generation, strange things began again. Animals refusing to go near the mountain path, fog appearing on nights with no clouds, windows glowing in abandoned places, and footsteps where no one should be walking. During daylight, the castle looked ordinary, empty, silent, like a forgotten ruin slowly being swallowed by time. But nobody stayed long enough to see sunset, because once darkness arrived, the mountain changed. People claimed the air became colder, the wind disappeared, and an unnatural silence spread through the trees. No insects, no birds, nothing. Only the sound of your own breathing. The elders gave only one warning. If the mist reaches your feet, do not turn around. Nobody explained why. Nobody needed to. Everyone already knew someone who ignored the warning. One winter evening, a traveler arrived in the village. Young, confident, the kind of person who believed fear only existed in stories. He laughed when people spoke about Dracula. He called it superstition. He said there had to be an explanation. That night, he decided to prove everyone wrong. He packed a lantern, a rope, some food, and began climbing the mountain. At first, nothing happened, just cold air and old stone. But halfway up the trail, he noticed something strange. The forest had become completely silent. Even his footsteps sounded distant. Then he saw it, mist, slowly moving through the trees, not drifting, not floating, moving, as if following him. He kept walking. Hours later, the castle appeared. Massive, dark, its towers disappearing into the night, and something immediately felt wrong. The main gate was open. No rust, no broken wood, as if someone had opened it moments earlier and expected him. He entered. Inside, the castle was untouched. Long tables, ancient portraits, candles, no dust, no signs of abandonment, but no people, only endless corridors. Then he heard something, not footsteps, not breathing, a whisper, so quiet he thought it came from his imagination, but then he heard it again, closer. You came. His lantern flickered. He turned. Nothing. Then another whisper, this time directly behind him. I have been waiting. He ran, through hallways, downstairs, until he reached a large wooden door. He pushed it open. Inside, moonlight illuminated a single room, and in the center, there was a chair, occupied. A tall man dressed in black, hands resting calmly, head lowered, perfectly still, like a statue. The traveler approached. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Then the man opened his eyes and smiled. Not a violent smile, not angry, just relieved, like someone seeing an old friend after a very long time. Then he spoke. His voice sounded old, older than the castle, older than memory, and he said, "Do you know what loneliness does to a man after centuries?" The traveler couldn't move. The room felt colder. The shadows around the walls began stretching, slowly, toward him. Then the Count stood and whispered, "Stay." Everything went dark. Nobody knows exactly what happened after that, because, according to the legend, the traveler returned. But not the next morning, not the next week. He returned to the village months later. Same clothes, same face, same lantern. But something was wrong. The village looked different. The houses had changed. Children had become old, and nobody recognized him. He asked for the date and realized decades had passed. For him, it had felt like only a few hours. He never explained what happened. He never spoke about the castle. But every evening, he would lock his doors before sunset and repeat the same sentence. He wasn't trapped inside the castle. Pause. The castle was trapped with him. Years later, the traveler disappeared, but villagers claimed that on cold nights, if fog rolls down from the mountain, you can still see 2 figures standing at the highest tower, one sitting, one standing, waiting for someone curious enough to open the gate again. And that is why, in some old Romanian legends, people say, never enter a place that feels like it already knows your name.